The animators at Trigger bring on their A-game in this amazing episode of Darling in the Franxx. This is it, guys. This is the first episode that has officially gotten me hooked on Darling in the Franxx. The last episode was sort of like the progenitor to that. I started to see a lot more in these characters outside of just their standard quirks. This is the episode that really made the series come alive, and of course, it featured a gigantic and ridiculous action sequence of all of the main characters piloting their giant robots, teaming up with everyone else, and fighting against a just massive horde of creatures. It was awesome, and it also featured some of the best animation that I've seen from the entire series. Without a shadow of a doubt, this was the best action that we've seen from Darling in the Franxx, and Hero and Zero Two definitely stole the show in the second half of the episode. So, the story this week is really simple. All of the Klaxosaur forces are getting ready to attack the plantations as they are exchanging magma between each other during the whole KISS operation, and that's where all of these pilots are going to have to come in and stop them, and they're bringing in this massive weapon, which at first takes the form of a massive black cube with horns. That's going to be their weapon to try and destroy everything, and even when I saw it for the first time, I'm like, what is that thing even going to do? It's just a giant cube with horns. By the second half of the episode, it does not disappoint. But it has a lot of drone units, and they all go in, attacking all at once, which is basically our excuse to finally see these guys in action, and man, the action here is great. I especially loved how they opened up getting to show the other Franxx team and their robots, which are way less stylized and a lot more militaristic looking. They don't have anything too distinctive about them, but what they do have is really great teamwork and coordination in the way that they actually take them out, and there's a lot of great action sequences in this episode, which is like reminding me of scenes from like Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back where they use these cables to tie up their enemies, except here they add a little something else to it for when they actually do tie them up. Another one of them comes down with their big lance weapon, stabs them from the top, leaving a big giant blue explosion of awesomeness. It's great. We even have the main characters who finally get to go into battle in this episode, and unlike the other team, they're very uncoordinated. They don't know how to work together. They make a lot of stupid mistakes, but everything here still looks pretty freaking solid. It isn't until Hero and Zero Two finally get in Strelizia when things really start to get interesting, and what I love most about it is the conversation the two characters have before they actually decide to go into battle, basically giving their reasons as to why they are fighting, with Zero Two wanting to simply just kill Klaxosaurs because she's a monster, and Hero saying that he wants to do it to save his friends. They don't argue about it, they disagree with each other a little bit, but again, that's what makes them such a great couple. They can get past these small details to officially work together. They jump into the battlefield, and then we finally get to see them go crazy. And guys, I can't do the action scene justice. The amount of movement and detail, and them just watching them explode through all of these enemies, jumping around in the sky and attacking them with their lance, it's a thing of beauty, and the choreography is surprisingly fluid. The robots themselves look really clunky, but the way that they made Strelizia move in this episode, it looked like it was dancing. I really loved that. But the biggest surprise came from the Klaxosaur enemy, which, like I said, was a giant block. That is until we learn that it's basically a transformer. It actually transforms into a massive humanoid monster with horns. But for me, my favorite part of the episode was finally getting to see the enemy transform. Like I said, it was a giant block. Now it transforms into a massive humanoid monster with horns, which just wipes the floor with everyone. It's like King Kong, it's like Godzilla, it's a giant monster that is just completely wrecking all of their robots. They have to try and get to its core, but it's too powerful to do that, and every single time it gets damaged, it just manages to heal itself. And at first, it seems like Strelizia is actually going to have the advantage in taking this thing down. When it comes down with this big massive attack from the sky, it looks like that's the conclusion right there, but no, it transforms again into a massive battering ram. A giant rectangular battering ram that just flies back, goes forward, and then just starts destroying the plantations and sending Strelizia flying right into it, which gets repeatedly pounded over and over. Hero is losing. He's susceptible to the damage on his body, succumbing to the weird blue veins which are taking over his entire body. Zero Two is losing control and can't seem to stop this thing. This is when we finally get the big moment where Hero is able to get over all of this energy which is taking over him. He's able to consume it within his body, team up with Zero Two yet again and stop her from going on her rampage. They work together to stop this thing in a massive blaze of glory. This was like Gurren Lagann epic. It was really freaking fantastic and done with such great gusto. I especially love the style of the enemy, which was just a giant cube. And when they finally decided to defeat it, they just started like twisting its entire body completely. And you could see that it was breaking apart and blocky, and as it was trying to come back together, the other robots flew into its body, stopped it from actually like healing together so that they could come in, destroy the core, and save the freaking day. It was a triumphant end to the episode as well, as not only did they survive the battle, but they saved everyone, they impressed everyone, including all of those older pilots. We even get a very touching scene between Hiro and Ichigo as well, which is another big part of this episode, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the rundown of this week's episode of Darling in the Franxx. Clearly the best action episode of the series. It was basically just a giant action episode, and I was kind of waiting for one just like this, and it definitely impressed me. Some of the best stuff that I've seen from the show. But again, the characters are the thing that I'm finally starting to get myself attached to. And to be honest, at first, I didn't like them very much, especially the main character of Hiro. He's still one of my least favorite characters from the show, I have to be honest. But still, there was something about them that was very off-putting at first. But this episode right here, I think really focused on them a lot, especially on the characters of Zero Two, Hiro, Ichigo, and Goro. I thought that was definitely the best thing to develop, especially because in the beginning of the episode, Ichigo looks like she is finally starting to get involved in this big love triangle with her, Hiro, and Zero Two, and she desperately looks like she's trying to confess to him, but she just can't do it, and by the end of the episode, she breaks down and starts crying in his arms. It's just... It's cliched and cheesy, but honestly, I really do like that the character is breaking out of her shell just a little bit more in this episode and trying to get out of the friend zone, which after this episode, that's probably just not going to happen. The genuine connection that Hiro and Zero Two have is definitely the cornerstone of the series, and definitely we got to see it mostly at work in this episode right here, as he's the only one who can actually quell her rage, and he now has a new purpose in life, which is cheesy as hell, but he's going to be her wings. Yes, Hiro is the wind beneath her wings. I can see the memes starting already. What I will say is, this was a pretty fantastic episode right here, done with fantastic animation and some really great characterization, considering that they could squeeze it into this one, which was basically just giant robots fighting monsters. There's something that anime can always do about that, and I think that's something that's really special. And this is, I think, going to go down as a cult classic at this point, simply because of this episode right here. I can't wait to see more of what it is going to potentially deliver for the rest of the series, as this whole Klaxosaur thing has got to evolve into something, I think, a little deeper. I want something a little more than just fighting the, enemy force, the monsters, which seem to have no personality, but... my personal theory is we're probably going to end up seeing more people like Zero Two, who are not exactly human and not exactly monster either. There's something in between, and that's going to lead to some pretty fantastic conflict at the very end of this episode. I've said fantastic way too many frigging times in this review, and that's why we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I'm giving this episode a 5 out of 5. Best action episode of the entire series, and you guys definitely need to check it out. So thank you guys for watching this review. I know it was haphazard and all over the place. Honestly, the fact that I had the time today to do this review is just astounding. I've just been so busy lately, so there it is. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about the episode. You can tell me all of them in the comment section below, and what you hope to see from the rest of Darling in the Franxx. I think it's going to go down as a Trigger classic, my friends. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, stay down, baby.